Today I'm going to show you how to add snow to 5 different natural subjects. Let's get the brushes wet and let's get started. Now we've already painted the rose hips, and if you've missed that video I'll pop a link to the top right hand corner, just in case of course. What about something like a stump? Okay, let's take some of that pencil off. So we can just about see where those lines go. Oh, only just. Yeah, just about. Now we have got snow within the stump as well, haven't we? Really have. But see what I'm going to do this time around, I'm not going to use masking fluid, I'm just going to go in straight with the paint. Okay, I know, very daring. The first thing I need to do is get some basic details on the wood. Now very often I put a background wash on there first of all, but this time I'm just going to use a semi-loaded brush and start to add some loose horizontal marks on that stump. This is just the beginning of the details, I know. You can get really detailed with painting wood, you really can. Then you can change your colours to more of a brown, burnt sienna, burnt umber, any colours like that. And it also depends on the wood you're painting as well. Once it's semi-dry, not quite dry, you can start to add some more details over the top. And the reason why I add details over the top when it's semi-dry is because it'll blend slightly as well in between. Then once it is completely bone dry, then you can start increasing the details over the top of that. Bearing in mind I've started off with the lightest colours first of all, which gradually get darker and richer as I go along. Payne's grey and the cerulean blue. Let's have a little bit of that, shall we? I'm going to start to paint in using my size 00 brush. Just a suggestion of snow over the top. But with this one, I'm going to do something a little bit different. So instead of reserving the whites of the paper by using masking fluid as we did with those rose hips, this time I think I might use a little bit of white paint. Well, we'll see. Let's see how it goes first. A suggestion of snow, that's all you're after here, look. Nothing more, nothing less. Painting with watercolours is always the best. Slightly darker on the back of that as well. So what you can do, you can get a little bit more blue. Just increase it a little bit more down the side. Or even a touch of Payne's grey in there will do fine, I think. Just think about those darker sides of the snow here. Give it a tap. Just a basic suggestion of where the snow is. I'm going to lightly soften this now. I could go back to my larger brush for this. Also consider a shadow underneath here as well, so I'll go back to our brown a minute. So where the snow is overlapping onto the wood, there'll be a bit of a hint of a shadow just underneath here as well. So I'm going to put a bit of a shadow there. Just where that is. I mean, that alone should just about do. But it depends how detailed you want to get with that. Make sure this edge is nice and kind of broken up in places as well. It's not too neat. We do need a few darker areas where that snow is overlapping a bit. Okay. And widen that shadow just a little bit more. Okay, grab yourself a little bit of opaque white. Put some anti-slip there a minute. There we go. This is one by SAA, but there's different brands on the market as well. As long as it's opaque, that's all you need. And this is a water-based white paint. In this case, this one's classed as watercolour. We can use white gouache instead, of course. Just make sure that your white is nice and creamy, so not too thin. Otherwise you'll find it could just fade as it dries. So creamy, creamy, creamy. Like that, using my size 00 brush again. Plenty on the brush. Then I'm going to start to stipple on the paper. Here we go. And this will create all those lovely highlights that we need for the snow. Within the shadowed area on the right hand side there. We've got shadows on both sides on this stump. Yeah. It's all for playing with those paints. That's what I enjoy doing all the time. Play, play, play. And see what you can do with those paints as well. Now do me a huge favour by clicking on that subscribe button down below and also like as well. Every like and subscribe that I get on my YouTube channel will help other like-minded people like ourselves to find my video lessons. So do me a favour and click on those two things down below. So think about the shadows in between. So we've got a bit of a curve coming around there, not much. A little bit round here, don't overdo it. When using white paint, less is normally the best. It really is. Because it can completely deaden the colours on the paper if you're not careful. Then I'm going to bring some over the edge of this as well, kind of spilling over the edge. which it is. And a few more down there. Look at that, that's better. Oh, yes, yes, that's got it. I do apologise, I do get very excited when I'm painting. When you know something's coming together, you think, yay! There's even little bits of snow dotted around the fronts of this, stump, log, whatever you want to call it. Just in places like this, and you can add those in there as well. Remember that spill as it spills over the edge of that stump. And a few more down here as well. Why not? It's up to the front, isn't it? Been a heavy snowfall. Very windy as well by the looks of it. Blowing right at that stump there. Yeah. And that is a way of creating snow on the top of a stump. Just by playing with white paint. I know. I don't like doing that with white paint. So that's two different methods really. So we've got one by using the masking fluid and now by using white paint. You can reserve the white of the paper as well if you want to. But that is entirely up to you. Now I want to paint this leaf next. I'm going to have a look at that one. Now I'm going to start off with a little bit of raw umber. I want to get some basic colours behind the scene. As you can see from the photograph, you can see a little bit of light shining through it. And try to maintain this colour throughout the painting. So all I'm going to simply do is fill it in first of all. And start to add a little bit of burnt umber into the mix as well to darken that colour in places. Just to get those basic foundation washes onto the paper. Now once this is dry, then you can start to add some more details over the top. Look at the contours in the leaf, look at the way that is shaped as it kind of folds over. Then you can start to add the vein and all the sections within the middle and create those details over the top using a size 00 brush. And I'm using the stippling technique to add some more detail within it, but it's not all the same, is it? They do vary within each individual section. So you've got to really look closely at that reference photograph and study every single section within that leaf, gradually building up the details as you go along and also increasing the amount of pigment that you use within your mixes. So in other words, your paint will get thicker and richer in colour. Don't overload that brush because if you do, your lines will be far too thick. Now if you do want to learn how to paint similar subjects to the ones that I've got here today, I do have full tutorials on all 5 of these subjects demonstrated on my Patreon channel. You find the link down below in the description. Have a look. Okay, white paint, here we go. Anti-slip, white paint. There we are. Down a bit. You want this nice and creamy. Really, really creamy. Got some water down there as well. My board's on that slight angle like that. So all the water lays further down like that. Right, start to stipple on the top of the branch now. Using that white paint. You can barely see it, I know. But what I can do, once this is on, I can paint a very fine line, over the top of this. Just to make it look like there's a little bit of snow on there, okay? I'll show you what I mean in a minute. A little bit of snow. Okay, we'll go with some blue. This is a Payne's Grey and the Cerulean Blue. Remix 6, it does separate. Like that. And a hint of this. Just along the top. Barely touching the paper like that. And we can soften this down as well. Just it looks like there's a little bit of snow on the top of that there branch. That there branch, I know. Then soften that back. And you can even paint the top section in, and then once it's dry, add the white over the top. Just by stippling it, of course. Add more white where everything was needed. Oh look, it's dripped over there. Yeah. A bit more falling over there on that side as well, though. Yeah. Now then, just on the edge of this leaf, where it's curled over, using the very tip of the brush. And stippling all the time. Also varying the shape as well from where the snow hits the leaf. I know, you can play around with this as much as you want to. Just make sure that paint is nice and creamy though. Otherwise that white paint will fade as it dries. And it won't stand out enough. I'm going to bring a few more further out as well. Like that. Bit of a bunch of it there. And work your way down. Do note as well, when you get to the bottom of the inside, You can see there's quite a lot of snow there, isn't there? So you know what you got to do there, don't you? Yeah, paint lots of snow in it. Yeah. Now we have got snow on the outside edge, so you can do the same thing again like we did on the top of the branch by adding just a hint, a very, very light line of blue. Okay, I'm going to add some down here. Some down here. The same will apply down there as well. And here we go. Now for the belly. Where it's all collected inside that curled up leaf. Start to add it in. Leaving plenty of gaps as well in between, by the way. Because what we can do as well is tone this down with small amounts of blue paint. You know, once it's dry, you have to let the white paint dry before you add colour over the top of it. You really do. And when you do add colour over the top of it, do it in one fell swoop. One light pass of colour. Otherwise that white will move and it will blur. It will, honestly. Then go back to your blue colour after washing that brush out, and then what you can do, just add just a hint of this blue, probably a touch more, just by tapping and skipping. That's all I'm doing here. So work my way down the side, and the same on this side here, very lightly touching the paper, the way the white sort of bunches over and clings to the end. But that will give us some ideas on how to paint a leaf with snow on it. Now let's work on this acorn and try and get more of a wintry feel to that one as well, shall we? Just the same way we've done everything else so far. Use a damp clean brush and wet the acorn first of all. Allow that water to soak into the paper as well. Then you can start adding some colour, and for this I'm using a small amount of raw umber mixed with burnt sienna. And as you can see, it's very, very watery. So more water than pigment. Whilst it's damp, you can start to build up some basic details in the background. Now, these details will fade as it dries, which is fine, because once it's completely bone dry, then you can add some finer details over the top. So you're starting to think about shape all the time. You're starting to think about the overall form of this acorn. And as you go through all the layers, increase the amount of pigment you got within your water. So less water and more pigment. So therefore you get richer, stronger, bolder colours. I'm looking very carefully at the reference photograph as well to ensure I've got all the darker areas in the right area, in other words on the right hand side as you can see, and slightly underneath as well. But I'm also using the lifting off and the stippling techniques to be able to create additional detail on that acorn. So yes, you can create detail by lifting paint off. And I do that with a lot of my paintings. Okay, back to our blue. Bit of Payne's grey. Little bit of cerulean blue. Don't know why I'm laughing, I've got no idea. And what I'm going to do, here actually, got a bit more control over that one. Bit bumpy here and there, doesn't really matter. Make it uneven. Like that. Overall shape of the snow around the edge there. Oh dear. And then I'm going to soften that line down. Soften it, really soften it back now. And when we add the white over the top of this will stand out enough just to give us an impression of snow. You've also got to think about those slightly darker sides as well, darker areas. So I've got a bit of dried paint knocking about on my mixing palette here. So it could be a little bit darker there, same colour, but just a richer version of that colour. Now give it a dry, and we'll get some white paint out, shall we? Yeah. Then start to stipple. Tap, stipple, scumble. Just vary what you do initially around here, look. Go right onto the very top. Reload, nice and creamy again, and scumble it, and stipple. Vary the way it looks. So adding the white over the top. The other ways to do this as well, like we did with the other one, which was the masking fluid, that one there, for our rose hips. You can do the same with that. You can put a background on this instead, so then the white will stand out against the background. So just do it that way. Yeah. There's different ways of doing it, of course. This is just one of them. Add the highlights in now. We lifted the paint off, it wasn't quite bright enough. Bit of a highlight there. And also highlights around here if you find you've not got quite enough colour on there, once the white's dry, you can add some more on the top. And this is where you can just bring some of this over now onto the acorn. No. Will that work? Because that's how it could be. It could just be on the top of that acorn, just like that. On a calm, non-windy day. Just kind of buried over the top of it. Dotting around here and there. The same with here as well. And the same with these. Just a few odd ones just touching the top of those. And also onto the stem. Leaving gaps in between though. That looks better. That's brought it together now, hasn't it? So that'll give you an idea on how to paint a very wintry feel of snow on the top of an acorn. Yeah. Now to start with the snowy branch, what I'm going to do, let's get some masking fluid. I don't need a lot of this though. Just a touch. There's loads. Grab yourself an old brush and an old piece of soap. Just soap up that brush a little bit and that'll help preserve the bristles of that brush. So, here we go. Masking fluid, load it up. And then start to stipple. We're going to reserve the white of the paper by using this masking fluid today. So I want to do old brush, stippling, creating the shape where the snow is going to be on the top of the branch. And then I'm going to bring a few little marks as well down away from that. Because it won't be even that way either, will it? Make sure it goes up and down again, but on the underside now. Sometimes overlapping that a little bit further. Then do the same with your branches. Carry on applying the masking fluid for all the different areas we can see within this branch. So any areas that stick out, that's going to catch that snow. And I want to add a background around it as well, because that'll help the snow to stand out. Once it's nice and dry, start to paint the branch. Put the basic foundation wash colours in the background first of all. But even at this early stage, I'm trying to think about the three-dimensional feel to it. So I'm ensuring that the lightest colours are at the top, then applying more of those darker colours underneath. And that'll start to give me more of a rounded feel to this branch. It's not black underneath the branch, but it's much darker using the same colours, but made to a thicker consistency. And maybe adding a little bit of blue in there as well, just to make sure it darkens it down a touch more. So increase the amount of details the lower down the branch you go. Yep, nice and dry. Clean finger, very clean finger. Then remove all that masking fluid off the paper. Look at this straight away. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Already we've got snow, just like that. That was quick, wasn't it? That's a quick way of creating snow on that branch, it really is. Then you can just fine tune it with a little bit of bluey grey, anything like that will do. Just in places, very watery though. Just a little bit of colour in there when it comes off the brush. Just a hint of colour in places, that's all you want to do. That. Especially on the lower section as well, so you've got to think of the way that snow curves over. So on the underside of the snow, just around here, you can tell how watery this paint is because you can barely see it, but it's just enough to create a bit of a shadow, isn't it? And that's the way that I would paint a branch covered in snow. And for me, a very cold winter's day as well, it really is outside. That'll also give you some ideas on how to paint snow on different objects as well. When you look at all the different 5 examples we've got here, some are the same way, I know, but using different subjects as well. Now, if you enjoyed this, have a look to the video to the top right hand corner of the screen. Because I've got something there that's a little bit warmer to paint. Oh, I know, cold here, isn't it?